So, hey guys, this is a brand new show for the Batman Statue Collector channel and for the group. We are going to be exploring several Batman books as well as the Batman universe with characters and storylines and what have you. We hope to, in the future, incorporate artists or artist interviews and maybe explore some other avenues that maybe we typically don't get to see or get to experience with DC and the Batman universe. I am your host, Rick. I have Alex Bat and NYC Cape Crusader joining me on this very first episode. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks, guys. Our very first episode is obviously one of the most monumental storylines and introduction of a criminal organization that Batman has seen in a very long time, and that is the Court of Owls. And in introducing this storyline, it very much upsets the balance that Batman has maintained over Gotham. Alex, Bat, I would like to start off with you and just your overall feeling of the book. We'll get into the details here shortly, but in reading it compared to the history that you're familiar with Batman, what feelings did you have of such a different direction that this was taken in?
I didn't feel it was that jarring. I knew it was like a new 52, so it was like a new jump off point. So I enjoyed it. It was a nice, introduction / refresher. But yeah, the art was great. The story was amazing. I mean, the writing was wow. So it was cool. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Okay. NYC, Alex, what did you think?
Now, when I first got into the Court of Owls, it was actually after like a decade hiatus of the comic books. The last storyline I had read before that had been Nightfall. So coming into this, going back into comic books after, half of my college career, my high school career, went to my local comic book shop, was like, hey, want to get back into Batman? What's been going on? To come across the Court of Owls when you had that very clean kind of pseudo cartoonist style of the 90s to this gritty, hyper realistic style and super serious storyline was awesome. And this book did a great job of just pulling me in from the moment it starts. And like, it was the first graphic novel I picked up in over a decade, and it did Batman right in my book.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I can share a similar feeling like you. I'd always collected Batman from, as a kid, teenager, into my 20s, and I did take a little bit of a break, and I picked back up with sporadic issues and graphic novels and what have you. And then with the new 52, I was actually collecting the previous Batman, Volume 1, and I kind of took a little bit of a break myself and then got back into it. And I got to tell you, I don't think that they could have done a better job in introducing Gotham City as not only a new character, but a living, breathing,
lived-in environment.
Yeah, very much. In the past, at least for me, and I say this in a very general context, is Gotham has never been portrayed the way that it was portrayed in the Court of Owls. Gotham was usually a minor character. It was more like in the background or
backdrop. Yeah,
very much so. And or if there was ever a reference to a neighborhood or an area, it was more of just a context of giving the lay of the land of where Batman was, more so than actually being a participating character, the way that Gotham is in Snyder's writing of the Court of Owls.
Yep.
So I thought that.
Yeah, like one of the.
No, go ahead. No, I didn't.
I said one of the last times you got a very distinct.
Yeah.
One of the last times you got a very distinctive sense of Gotham like that would have to be at Batman the Animated Series, where you can't mistake that city for any other city. And
I'd also say the Tim Burton movies. He had a very distinct Gotham as well.
Yes,
but it wasn't
the set director Anton Furst for Batman. Yeah, he really did put a stamp on that Gothic style, on that on the set and whatnot. But in terms of print, Gotham City itself has never has actually, you know what? Now that in reading this, for me, it was very much like the Gotham City before this, before the Court of Owls storyline, was very much from Batman's perspective. It was always from his description, his view. You know, maybe from Jim Gordon being the commissioner, or police lieutenant or captain or whatever as he goes through the ranks. But this particular storyline for me really upset the balance. Story starts off with Batman describing the city as how he sees it, and it's on his terms. And by the end of it, you can see that he doesn't know Gotham as well as he thought he did from the very beginning.
And it was heartbreaking because at the beginning you could feel the love he has for his city, like the ins and outs and the nooks and crannies, and like every inch of the city he knows and he loves. He appreciates and respects. And then by the end, it's like heartbreaking. It's like he doesn't know his city after all. And it's like, where am I? Who am I? What is this? So,
he begins questioning his environment. He begins questioning himself. The thing that struck out the most for me, though, is Batman's arrogance. Just like how you said, Alex, like how much he loves the city. There's almost a bit of bitterness towards Gotham. He has
a sense of ownership of it.
Right.
That gets taken away from him. Because in previous comic books, it's always been, this is my city. No one's allowed to do Gotham except for me. And it's been a standing thing that he doesn't allow other heroes to help out in Gotham and stuff like that. It's always been this thing he places ownership on. But then it gets stripped away from him due to this secret history he has no idea about and was told doesn't exist by multiple people.
Well,
that he looked for himself and couldn't find.
Yes, and well, the interesting thing for me that I actually took away from that, it's a little bit different than you, NYC Alex, is for me it was more of like he knew the city in and out, and it was a split. You had one side where he loved the city. He was doing everything that he can to develop it and make it a better part as Bruce Wayne. And then at night as Batman, he's trying to get rid of the criminal element, and there's the seething anger within Batman of doing that. And then the whole time he's being told, hey, what if the Court of Owls is real? And he is so dismissive. And he's quick to dismiss it, that he just doesn't believe it. And everything that he's seen.
It's his arrogance that does that.
Sorry?
It's that thing, like, it's his arrogance, because, like, if the court existed, I would have known about it because I'm Batman,
Exactly.
This entire thing. And then you have, I don't want to get ahead here, but you have that great moment when he finally confronts the court. It's like, yeah, we've allowed you to operate in our city.
Yeah.
And it's like, it completely flips script and breaks Batman mentally at that point.
It does. It really does. And that's the thing that I really like about this is when everyone says, oh, Court of Owls and Talon, like, to me, the Court of Owls is not like the present day.
No.
The Court of Owls is like from when they very first started, which was literally at the founding of Gotham City. Like, I mean, just a few years after Gotham was founded, after the trading and had more populace growing, then the Court of Owls kind of was birthed. And I just find that their history is what makes them villainous, not the current group.
Oh yeah, no, and it goes deeper than that, because they even retconned that with the first metal event, saying that the court were the founders of Gotham and that they did so with malicious intent from the very beginning. So it gets.
I didn't know
deeper.
that. I haven't read that far yet, so
we'll get.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, it's fine. That's fine.
Batman literally finds out through certain sources that that in so many words, the reason why Gotham is so bad is because it was literally cursed by something that the court tried to do back in Puritan times.
Yep.
That sounds
They
good.
basically set they basically set Gotham on the path of what it is now. And the Waynes were one of the families that were resistant against the Court of Owls almost from the beginning. But in saying that, for Bruce and Batman to have that. You have Commissioner Gordon and you have Nightwing telling him, "Hey, like, what if they really exist?" And Batman knows the nursery rhyme of the Court of Owls, and he knows it so well that he relies on his memory as a child when he went to go look for it. And it's funny how memory, and this is how I took it, is when Batman is explaining to Nightwing that he actually did go look for the Court of Owls, did not find them because in his mind they don't exist. But it's funny how memory can play a trick on you. And I got that impression from Snyder's writing, was like, Batman, Bruce is relying on this memory to be so factual that what if that memory has actually been compromised?
And that's the great thing about Scott Snyder's writing, is because he was so good at crafting the mystery and letting it be solved only up to a certain point. He doesn't lay anything out for you. So there are points in this story where you expect the comic to answer it for you, but they never do, because Batman himself doesn't know the answer. So why would the audience know the answer?
Exactly.
So it leaves this great mystery that it's just like, oh, I want more, but the main character doesn't know anymore, so I can't know anymore as well. Because especially when you're writing a mystery novel, a story, usually the thing that kills mystery, especially like TV and novelizations, is that the audience always knows more than the characters playing the parts.
Yes.
But here we're learning as much as Batman is with every chapter and every page. We only learn as much as he does, and that keeps you engulfed in the mystery so well.
Exactly. Totally. And the interesting thing is, I like the part where they give this impression that, and this goes to Snyder's credit in writing, which is what you were saying, NYC Alex, is he conveys this level of like, well, we've always been around, but when they introduce Talon, he somewhat implies as if Talon is new, but by the end of it, you realize Talon's is not new. He's the farthest thing from new. It's when Batman finds all those 13th floors in the Wayne buildings that they funded through their foundation, that it goes back several years, almost 100 years, that he's found these Fallon locations, these Talon locations. So, that is when you see that Talon's always been around. But I love that difference that Snyder gives of like Talon is kind of new and he's actually not. And I love how they give up, they through Capullo's art, they sprinkle little bit here to give you Talon's backstory. But not the person underneath the mask. It's more the
icon, the character, the name.
Yeah, the idea.
Yeah.
The idea of the Talon.
And I love that. I absolutely love that. So let's skip to a couple pages. Is there any pages you guys have in preference in going to?
Let's see. We talked about the first few pages where we set up the history and like Batman's viewpoint and how he loves the city, how he kind of feels ownership.
Yeah, I would like to jump to the page where he's presenting his plans for Gotham to his board of collectors, because one thing that I've always noticed, especially more recently, is a lot of people have this propensity with Batman that, Batman doesn't help Gotham other than beating up the mentally ill in the lower class. So I often bring up this particular story going, hey, in the first like 5 pages of Batman's run here, you see that he's literally has a plan to rebuild the city from the ground up and help everyone, and he's donating billions of dollars to do so. So
and he does. He's like, and he legitimately says, "What is Gotham to me?"
And more than a place that just took my parents. I want to be able to give back to it like they did, and all this kind of stuff. And I think Scott Snyder does a great job of not only focusing on Batman like a lot of other writers have done, but focusing on Bruce Wayne as well. Like in this story, you have this great dichotomy between him in and out of the suit, him helping the city and talking to people as Bruce Wayne and doing things like that. And you also have there's a great balance between day and night between the two halves of Batman.
Absolutely, and what's interesting about that is the way that Snyder writes, or the way that Bruce is depicted through Snyder's writing is, he's coming from a place of like, hey, we can create jobs if we, reinforce or reinvest into the city's infrastructure, and if we can just get investment, if we can do this and if we can do that, like he's actually saying, hey, if we invest in the city will invest in its people, and the people will reinvest back into the city, and it's all cyclical. So it with what I see in how he writes Bruce is hope.
Yes.
There's tremendous hope in Bruce's speech and the way Bruce is depicted in this storyline. And then Batman is like, he doesn't have hope. He doesn't believe in the Court of Owls. He believes that he owns the city, and there's no I don't want to say revolution, but there's no expression of hope from the Batman storyline in this. All that hope is out of Bruce. So it's really, really cool to see how outside of the mask Bruce has hope, but inside the mask he doesn't.
I kind of saw it a little different. I saw this Batman actually having hope. It's like usually in the Batman stories, it's like, Batman is this Clark Grim character giving vengeance and justice, and like Bruce Wayne is like a mask.
Right.
This one is like Bruce Wayne is actually a real solid person, and even as Batman, he still loves the city.
Like, I think the dichotomy is. I think you guys are lagging a little bit. Am I the only person getting that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, because I'm lagging a little bit here.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, it's on you.
Okay. Let me see. We could probably edit this out. Let me get off the Wi-Fi. Maybe.
No edits. It's raw. It's real. Give the people everything.
Exactly. But anyways, Alex, Bat, you were saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He still feels hopeful and loving and caring in both versions. It's just like he's tied in different ways. As Bruce Wayne, he can only present as like the rich man, billionaire corporate guy. So he can only do so much. But as Batman, he can switch it up and he can be the enforcer. He still has the same drives. He just presents it in a different way.
Yeah, it's the difference between the soldier and the politician, because the soldier's job is to beat back darkness so prosperity can thrive. So as Batman, he's holding back the darkness of Gotham, so as Bruce Wayne, he can bring that prosperity in, and hopefully, because like that's been a running theme in Scott Snyder's writing, is that Batman has this dream that he'll build this Gotham that doesn't need Batman anymore.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. No, I absolutely. But for me, the way I saw it, and I'll reread it. I'll reread it to try and see if I can, pick up on that perspective. But the way I saw it was when we jump forward in the story, with Batman in the maze, and he's been there for like over a week. His reaction to Talon is not one of, I'm the city's protector, or I believe in this city, and the city has fought back all these. Like he doesn't say anything remotely like that. It is all about him, and I don't say that in a selfish way. I just say that in more of that Batman's arrogance way. Like this is my city, and I'm fighting you back, and I'm doing these things, and and that's where for me I didn't see Batman have that same hope that Bruce was depicting. So, for Batman to have that hope of like, hey, if you could beat me, but the city will beat you. That kind of expression, which was very much what Bruce was saying. It's like, hey, look, like, being a Wayne, I know what it means. My family has roots here. Gotham means family to me, blah, 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 blah. Whereas Batman, he didn't express a similar dialogue. He didn't express it in that, you may beat me, but I'm not the only protector of the city.
Well, yeah, because like in that way you can say that Bruce is the optimist while Batman's the realist.
Yes.
Very much so.
Mhm.
Very much
Because
so.
if you think about it, it's the optimism of Bruce Wayne in the storyline that gets him in a target to talent that gets talents to target him in the first place.
Oh
Because we
yes.
find out a
Yep.
few pages later that the Court of Owls thought they had taken care of the Waynes, that they weren't
Mhm.
a problem anymore. And then he
Mhm.
has this glorious plan on rebuilding Gotham, and the court's like, "Yeah, no, that's not happening," and that's how the
Yeah,
entire story kicks off.
Yeah.
exactly. They're like, no, that's not the direction we want to take the city in. We want
Yeah,
to we want to take the city somewhere else, and you're getting too close to our business, and that's not what we want. You know.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
I do love. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, NYC Alex. I'm right there with you. Uh,
Same.
with Bruce's speech, I think that speech really, considering that this is the third issue,
Mhm.
that this speech, the Court of Owls is introduced in the third issue. I think this is the second or third issue. That
What? This is not the first issue?
no, this is still the first issue.
it's still the
Yeah.
first issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's issues 1 through 7
Mhm.
is this. I just couldn't remember because I read the collected. So
Yeah, same. Yep.
even though I have the issues, I
Mhm.
read the collected. Which for you viewers, we will talk about the details of this book and also the versions that are out there at the end of this episode. So stay tuned for more information. So with Bruce's speech, it's so interesting how Commissioner Gordon has almost a similar speech or conversation with Batman.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's almost like the other side of the coin when it comes
Mhm.
to this. Bruce is saying, "Hey, we can do this. We as a city, we as a populace, we can make the city better." And then as Batman, he's talking to Gordon, and it's like, "Hey, man, maybe the Court of Owls really do exist, and maybe they have been influencing the city more than you think." And I just, yeah, I just love the back and forth that Snyder does in his writing. It's just,
Oh yeah.
it really is amazing.
and it's a
Mhm.
great conversation because I've had this conversation with a lot of different people on this idea of why Batman has to present himself that way, because
Mhm.
it's not it's pretty common knowledge to both people on the good and bad side of Gotham that Batman is just a guy. And as a cosplayer, people always ask me how come I don't do the more armored versions of Batman, and I always tell them that the more armored versions of Batman kind of defeat the purpose of Batman, because Batman has to be the top. He has to know everything. He has to be capable of everything in order for him to still feel like a viable threat in the city itself. So
Mhm.
there can't be a point where Batman just hops onto the rooftop and goes, "Yeah, Jim, I don't know what's going on," because then if people realize that Batman doesn't know something, then
Mhm.
that hope will start to dwindle in the people of Gotham, starting with Commissioner Gordon, going back to the cops, and then eventually getting to the people. It's the same thing with why he doesn't wear outward armor, is because if they see Batman wearing armor, then they see someone who's vulnerable
Right,
rather than someone who's wearing pretty much what they think is a guy wearing a cloth costume.
right, right.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Which, it's funny that you say that because most of Batman's storyline where he is wearing a full body armor is usually against a super villain like Darkseid or
Or
Right. So
Superman himself, like
uh,
Predators.
yeah, no,
just real quick before the commenters go crazy, it's Dark Side.
it is Darkseid. It is Darkseid. Yeah, no, it is. It
Hey,
is.
commenters, don't worry, we got
I
it.
get I get thrown off by the spelling often,
Mhm.
and
Happens to me too.
but
I still say Magneto, so yeah.
Bro, we know our own kind, man. It's gonna be clickety clack. Dark Side, it's Dark Side.
it's Darkseid. Yeah, well, that's like some people say Wolverine and some people say Wolverine. It's
Okay.
what about
That's a
Rage
bit
versus
much.
Raz Al Ghul.
the
Mhm.
so, but you never see Batman really wear an armored full head to toe gear against
Mhm.
the Joker or against the Riddler, or and if there is a particular storyline, it's for that narrative, and it's
Yeah,
only momentary. It's not like he always wears armor against Clayface. Yeah. There are times where he does wear armor against Mr. Freeze. If you look at Mr. Freeze as a character, it's almost warranted that Batman has to in some capacity. But yes, I totally agree with you. It does convey that perception of weakness that you were describing.
Yeah, and
I
Batman
being the because I came in
that
from
he
the
is.
Keaton movies, and so he always had like an armor type outfit in that. And that's he comes in from the shadows, so regular people don't really see much of his outfit either way.
Yeah, and the great thing about the Keaton movie, you have that one scene where they actually do shoot him, and they're like, "There's no blood," and then they poke it, it's like, "That's body armor," and they didn't realize it at first, and that's the whole point.
Exactly.
Yep, totally. So, so let's go to another page. You guys want to go to another page?
Alex B, you want to choose one this time?
Sure. Actually, real quick before we go too far ahead, can we go back to him and the Robins in the suits?
Yeah, definitely.
I like that page. Nothing really happened. It just looked cool to me.
Now, I do have a gripe with this page, though.
Oh, go down a little bit.
And that's because
they
claim that it's the whole family, but tell me if you see someone missing.
No Jason.
And I wondered this for the longest time, and it was actually answered I think last year by Scott Snyder himself. He doesn't like Jason.
No, he's not a fan.
He's not a fan. So he intentionally, when he could, left Jason out of his writing, which I thought was really messed up because you have the entire family here sans Jason, yet you see him in the very next story arc, Death of the Family.
Yeah, you do, and I think. I mean, I can only surmise as to why he probably did that, but there's a lot more of the family missing here outside of Jason. I mean,
but we're talking about adopted sons. Jason is the only one. We're talking about people that he actually took on who technically are Waynes. Jason is the only one missing because at this point, Cassandra Cain's not a thing yet. Stephanie Brown's been wiped so far.
Batgirl.
Batgirl is off doing her own thing, but she's not technically a family member. She's an extended family member.
Yep.
But she's not a Wayne like Tim, Dick, and Damian and Jason are.
Yep. And what I like about this particular panel and what I took from it, and you tell me what you guys took from it, but I absolutely love the foreshadowing in this, in that this is the quote unquote, the Wayne family. These are the ones that are closest to Bruce. These are the ones that Bruce brought into his house. And by the end of the story, Bruce is questioning Dick's connection to the Court of Owls and keeping him at a distance. And it's like, hey man, you don't know who's on the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
And because of that, we could be very well in your home, right next to you, and I just love that foreshadowing in these panels because by the end of it, Bruce is questioning his own boys.
And the funny thing is, they don't repair that relationship until literally just recently.
Yeah.
Okay. They Scott Snyder does in my opinion, way too good of a job at tearing the family apart. Where the story came out in 2011, almost 10 years to get the family back together, and they're still not fully there yet.
No, they're not. I mean, Bruce and Damian are fighting right now.
Spoiler alert for that.
I don't know that. La 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 la.
Well, anyone who's reading the current storylines, I mean, that's what's going on. Is that there is strife, there is difference in the family. There and all that was lit on the fuse of Court of Owls.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, strife in the Bat family is nothing new, but I don't think it's ever lasted as long as it has since the Court of Owls started at all.
Oh no. I mean, there's some storylines in Detective Comics where over the last couple of years where the family has gotten together, but it's been more out of momentary peace.
Yeah, momentary peace. Hey, something's going down. I need you here for like a day, and then we can all just start like hating each other again.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, even look at Joker War. We won't get into that, but
I haven't read that either. La la la.
No, I was gonna say if anyone's read that or if anyone's about to read it, pay attention to how the characters relate to each other.
Pay attention to the character dynamics going through that. A lot of it and Tom King's run as much as I have my feelings about Tom King's run.
So I've read
yeah.
more of his stuff so far. So yeah, I know about that one.
I will
Yeah,
say
but
this about Tom King with the Joker War and all that stuff. Even through Tom's run, he still carries some of the thread work that Snyder had laid down.
Oh yeah, no, it was on the background end of it, it was actually part of the contract because of the overarching storyline that DC and the editorial power that DC gave Scott Snyder over the Batman story arc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were certain things that in order to get Scott Snyder to keep on writing, they had to agree to keep in the Batman stories up to a certain point, and that was one of them.
Yeah. Which is great. I mean, I'd really, really built the universe so much better.
Yeah.
But anyways, back onto this. So Alex Bat, what
Yes.
this is your panel. What's the what else would you like to say about it?
We pretty much said everything pretty much so far. Just the beauty of the scene. We had almost the whole family together. It was nice. It was tranquil. It kind of builds up to the chaos that's about to explode about family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
definitely. Definitely. It's almost like the calm before the storm. It's like you
Yes.
see them relating to each other. They're kind of poking and prodding. There's something you can't put your finger on, but there's something just below the surface.
Yeah.
It feels too good to be true. Something, bottom is going to fall out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Let's go to another panel. So for me, there is one page I would really, really like to talk about.
And I'm wondering if it's the next one I want to go to. We'll
No, I wasn't going to this one, but if you want to talk about this, we can talk about this one.
I'm a horror writer, so yeah, this 7-ish scene, I loved it. It was so beautiful.
Totally 7.
So
Totally
yeah, so we had this beautiful thing with the family and the kids, and then we had this wonderful speech, and then boom, back to Batman in the 7.
Yep.
We're like, oh, okay, this is awesome. It also kind of reminds me of that the Batman trailer.
Yeah.
It's like I wonder if they're going to go this route also, but
I hope so.
I hope so too. I really do. That's I know that we're going to get some differences here, not only amongst us, but with viewers and commenters on this. I personally think that while the previous Batmans, the Michael Keaton, the Val Kilmer, the George Clooney, all of those have been really good in certain things.
Yep.
Me personally, I really, really, really think that a Batman movie, and hopefully Matt Reeves will do it justice, is Batman needs to be in a 7 atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's really where the character does his detective work. That is the environment that he finds. I mean, he's not always in some penthouse and finding a coin. Like he's really in the muck of things. And I think that I would love to see a Batman horror movie. And when I say horror movie, I don't mean like Jason versus Freddy or nothing like that. I would just like to see that Batman's more in the shadows, and you get glimpses of. It's almost like he's the shark in Jaws. You get,
or the alien in Aliens.
Right.
Glimpses
of him throughout the entire movie, and then near the end you get the full reveal. Because to me, I would rather be on the edge of my seat going, okay, well, I know it's Batman, but I don't see him fully. And I think
I don't know his motives. I don't know if this is like a deadly Batman and
exactly
he's gonna switch on me.
I mean, that's why you can like or dislike the movie itself. That's why I love the first appearance, the first time we see Ben Affleck's Batman, where you just see him unnaturally perched on that corner. All you see is this blur of black cape going to the wall. It's like, that is terrifying.
Yes,
and amazing.
It is. It is absolutely 100%. And I thought Zack Snyder really did a great job of introducing his new Batman. It was very 7-ish. You know,
Yeah.
it had that feeling, a vibe of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the rest of the movie, with how he did it, he was very, very, for me, he was very overexposed, and it just would have been nice to have kind of kept him in the background a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's overexposed to us, the audience, and just not to go on a tangent. But if you look at it the way it is, as far as in universe, not many people see him.
No,
Like,
that's very true.
The only people that see him are the people that he's freaking hunting. And I love that one line is like, there's a new kind of mean in him.
Yeah.
He is mad and he is hunting. I'm like, that. Imagine you went to Gotham for the first time and some dude just tells you that about a thing that you're not sure about.
Right. Right. And
I saw the Yelp reviews. I'm not going to Gotham. That's okay. No.
Like, there's something called the Bat over there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what this panel does. This panel literally is like right out of the movie Seven. It is right out of those type of detective horror stories and horror movies. Like, just, I mean, the grittiness, the color palette, everything. It just jumps off the page.
Oh no, and completely, because like I said, the last storyline I read from Batman before this was Nightfall, and that's when you still had a nursery rhyme spitting Scarecrow and a brightly colored, Mad Hatter and stuff like that.
Oh yes,
and you had maybe a little bit of blood, but it was still kind of that hyper red cartoony blood.
Yep.
So I get this, and then I see this, I'm like, well, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, you went from teenager to full adult. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah. No, this is hands down. And another thing too that I like about this panel, about this page, is that it introduces, or at least it shows Batman a level of savagery that the Court of Owls can do.
Yeah.
He is still like, I don't think they exist. Like, he's still doubting.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this could be a copycat or a fan or something like that. Someone who wants to make me think the Court of Owls is real.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, and he even says something like that. He even says something that's like, oh no, this is just somebody trying to make me think that the Court of Owls exists. Like, his arrogance really, really carries through in this this storyline of just how dismissive he is about the Court of Owls, even up until he meets them. And even then, he's like, well, if I destroyed Talon, I destroyed the Court of Owls. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
But even just not the Court of Owls part, just that he sees this and he's like, it's another day in Gotham. Another day. I'll get to it. It's fine.
And the one thing I love about the panel as an artist is look how it's lit. Everything is illuminated except for Batman.
Yep. Batman
Harvey is standing right next to Batman, and all that light that's landing on Harvey doesn't seem to touch him one bit.
Nope.
And it's something that I forget what artist coined it, but they called it the perpetual shadow. That no matter what environment Batman's in, he always has to be drenched in shadow. He could be broad daylight; they'll find a shadow to put him in.
Yeah, yeah,
and it just makes him look so otherworldly.
And it's, you know what? And it's funny that you say that, because you look at this and you can see the, if you will, I'll just use the description. You can see the horror is brought to light, but Batman still is in the dark.
Yeah. You don't see his feet. All you see is cape and cowl.
That's it. So, all right, let's go to another one. Let's see here. So, let's see. So the panel I am interested in actually talking about is coming up. Not this part, but almost. So there he is with the train. They're doing the autopsy. But it's when Bruce is talking to the guy right here.
Lincoln March?
Yeah, when he's talking to him, and we get, so he's talking to him, and it's, let's see here. It is the introduction of Talon,
Right there. Boom.
which is this one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is only me, and this is entirely me.
Mm-hmm.
Is I would love to have seen Talon up more in the rafters and have
Yes.
a panel overlooking Talon's shoulder, looking down at Bruce and Lincoln talking.
Yeah.
That then rather than Talon being so affront coming through the service elevator. Now I get it. You know, he doesn't care, and he's doing it, and he's doing a frontal assault on Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got it, no problem. But as an assassin, and for me, and again, this is just me.
It's
My
not just
opinion is I would love to have rather have seen Talon in previous panels where it was just over his shoulder.
Yep.
And you see Bruce, you know, and he's doing things. And then Talon, in this meeting, Talon's in the rafters looking, and he jumps down on Lincoln. That for me would have been a more enjoyable introduction.
Yep.
But I have no complaints about this one. It's
build
just
up the suspense, build up the danger, build up the hunt.
that too, and also that, hey, you know, someone is watching Bruce that Bruce isn't aware is watching.
But
That's scary.
here's where I see where you're coming from, but as a little bit of art direction here, the reason the way the scene is laid out is to look at the light that's being cast on it. The light's not really touching Lincoln or Bruce. It's not really touching them. It's all on the Talon, and it's meant to show the brazenness of the court.
Yep.
They don't need to sneak. They don't need to hide. This is their tower. It's their city. This is essentially as a cop walking up to you and going, okay, you're under arrest. They don't need to do anything like that. The court has sentenced you to death. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm going to come here and kill you. No one's going to see a damn thing, and I'm going to go about my damn way.
Oh, yeah.
So, don't need to sneak.
Yeah, no, I totally got that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as a fan of the storyline and as a fan, you know what I mean? Like, I totally got that, and it makes 100% sense that their brazenness is at that level of like, you can't challenge us. There's, you know, we're going to walk in and we can be right next to you, or we can be away from you. We can still touch you.
Yeah.
And this compounded a few issues later when the assault on the mansion happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, we know who you are. We've always known who you are. We've been playing your game now. Now the game's over.
Yep, exactly. But, you know, as a fan of the story, and, you know, you are right. It's the way that the previous pages of this show the sunlight, you know, on the tower. And, you know, it's you know, at one point it was the tallest building in all of Gotham and whatnot. They're trying to show it in this glorious way, you know, and glorious depiction.
And the size difference between Bruce and Lincoln versus the Talon itself.
Yep.
How minuscule they are against this seemingly, like, no one approaches Bruce or Batman like that.
Yeah.
No one. Except maybe the Joker. But no, not really.
No.
So, like, to have someone just go, yeah, hey, what's up? I'm here to kill you. Like, full-on mob boss style.
Exactly.
Tony Levito said hi, you know?
Yep. Exactly. But yeah, no, it was just you know, this is one of my favorite portions of the story where I was like, man, I really enjoyed Talon's introduction. Again,
I still gotta make that costume.
Personal, but you know, again, personal opinion was just more of like, I would like to have seen, because you know that's what owls do. They do perch, and do overlook, and I think for Talon to have been shown at least in one panel, kind of doing that would have been really nice, you know. So, and
you still could have had this page, but yeah, to still see the actual hunting and the observing and the watching.
And no, I love everything about this page because there's so much foreshadowing in this page.
Oh, so much.
And like, not even in just this page, the build up to this page, like the first introduction of Lincoln March. Now, as an artist, there's something called same face syndrome, where certain artists like have the habit of drawing all the characters with very, very similar facial features. So the only way you can really distinguish them is via hair or clothes.
Yeah.
But we all know that Greg Capullo is not one of those artists. He has a very distinct hand. So it threw me off when I saw this character who looked so much like Bruce, to the point when they're talking on this rooftop, I actually got confused on a few times on which one was which. And as we all know, I mean, spoilers for a 10-year-old story, who Lincoln March turns out to be.
Yeah.
And like when I finally got to that, I'm like, oh my God, it was intentional. Same thing with the black and white here.
Yep.
There's a reason why Bruce is wearing a black suit and Lincoln's wearing a white suit. It's the way that Scott Snyder laid it out is beautiful.
Yeah, see, that was telegraphed to me from the jump. Like Lincoln March, he seemed like a Harvey Dent from the I forgot the movies, but yeah, and like he was a better version of Hush, but you could tell like what he was gonna be, but you still liked him.
But I was thinking in my head, I'm like, why does he look so much like Bruce? Is it just lazy art, or is it just something? Is it something else? Am I missing something here?
Yeah.
And they never fully answer that question, because that's another thing going back to Batman not believing things in the story arc that he learns from Lincoln that to this day he still doesn't believe.
Yeah, that was an interesting little twist, but yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, most definitely. So we're running up on time here. So let's get to the maze.
Speed round.
Speed round. Yeah, I mean I will say this about the fight between Bruce and Talon. I mean, come on. I mean, that is like so visceral, and it is so like it is smooth, it is clean. The way that Capullo, the way that he really does a great job of like just a millisecond in between. Like to me, I can literally squint my eyes and I can see the panels just blur all together.
Yep.
The knowledge he has of the tower enough to save himself.
Yep. It's awesome. It's truly awesome.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So yeah, let's scroll down to the maze. Great shot right there.
Questions about the maze, but let's see if it's different.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes, issue 5, Face the Court.
Face the court. Okay.
And it was like, did I have a printing error, or is it supposed to be this way?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
supposed to be that way.
This way. There was a better way you could like blend it.
I talked to Greg himself about it. He's like, no, I wanted you to turn the book.
Exactly.
Well,
actually, I want you to get more engaged with it. I wanted you to actually turn the book and actually really get involved in the fall into insanity that happened with Bruce in that moment.
Yep. And actually where that originated out of was the conversation between Greg and Scott. Scott was like, hey, I want some way that we can depict in the book of how Bruce is his sanity, his mental state is being affected in like a almost spiral way. And Greg came up with, hey, well, what if we change the pages and then I'll draw a maze, and then that's where it originated out of that of like forcing the reader to spin the book around in the same way that Bruce Batman's mind is spinning from being in the maze for so long.
I get it. Still didn't like it. Didn't like it at all.
So
it's like the Wildcats books where you have the gatefold cover that like sprawled out to forever and infinity.
That's the thing. It goes into so much more than that, because you see his perception of what he thinks the court looks like. These twisted owl creatures.
Yep,
that was awesome. Yeah, I love that.
These demented shadows that are encroaching in on every single corner of the panels.
Yep.
And even the cover of issue 6 where he's half owl, half Batman.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love David Cronenberg, so stuff like that. I love it. It's beautiful.
It's It's yeah.
And you got the Hitchcock shadows and like Vertigo and all that type of stuff. I love that too. But yeah,
Like
when
one of
you
my
mix,
favorite graphic novels is Arkham Asylum, Mysterious House, Mysterious Earth.
Yes.
okay.
And that one is to the point where if you don't like that kind of stuff, you literally cannot read the book.
Huh. I read a Arkham Asylum, but I don't think I read any of the sequels. So
Well, actually, Arkham Asylum, no, I don't think it has a sequel, does it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
No, because I think we may be getting our lines crossed. Not the Arkham Asylum video game comic book series. There's a
No, the graphic novel, Dave McKean.
Yeah, there's a comic book with like a demon-esque Joker on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like
that
very
one, the art
painted,
is
but
so
it's like
stylized and the text is so stylized that if you have like any type of like eye condition, like I had a hard time reading that book. I had to read it a couple times because
Well,
I'm trying to discern text from image, and it's like they're all the same thing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I pulled this panel up to show something that that I wanted to see what you guys thought about this. So, Batman has always used shadows. He's always used darkness as a weapon.
Yeah.
To hide and conceal himself and things like that. But it's interesting how he is not using it so much as a weapon here, being stuck in the maze, as a place to hide from evil. So it's almost as if he's scared of, when Batman is in control, it doesn't bother him being in the light. It's just that he uses the darkness as a weapon, as an offensive, concealing himself. Whereas here, he's in the maze and he's using the shadows and he's using the darkness as a way to literally hide from his fear.
Defensive this time.
Yeah, because that one thing that really impressed me about Scott Snyder's writing is the fact that he was not afraid to show Batman being vulnerable.
No,
at all. Like the way it's depicted, especially later on when after his first confrontation with the Talon, when he cracks his cowl and you get to see that stressed vascular eye that hasn't slept in like 4 or 5 days, rather than that calm, cool white triangle that his cowl presents. But you have this fearful, exactly right there. Just like you have the calm, menacing Batman that he wants people to see, and then you have that creeping insanity in that one eye, that dark blue eye staring back at you from the shadows. It's very Two-Face-esque.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
It very much is. It very, very much is. And it's almost, not only that, but it also has a tinge of Joker's madness. Like Bruce himself, even in this next panel, he's like, I shouldn't drink the water. Maybe it's drug. Like he himself is doubting everything. He's doubting his senses. He's doubting everything. And he's like, but I'm so thirsty. And, he takes a sip, and that goes to, and even a reflection, even that reflection he has, it's very much like, madness is kind of setting in. So there is that, like some of his rogues got like Bruce, or as Batman, is actually, kind of depicting
into his rogues gallery.
Exactly. He's depicting certain elements of his villains.
This is very Scarecrow, Joker, all the fear toxins and poisons.
Batman's mental state, very much Joker-esque, with that madness. Though drinking
he's also shown a lot more what's the word I'm looking for? Scrawny. His suit is baggy on him here. It's loose. So it's from the narration that it's probably not really what's happening, but it's how he's viewing himself.
Right.
He's weak. He's tired. The suit doesn't fit the way it used to. It's
He's starving.
Starving. All this stuff.
And it's cool because you are seeing Batman put to a place beyond physical. Like this really, really is completely mental breakdown. And then this is where it starts to spin. This is where his mind. This is where his mind starts to kind of start to lose it.
Yep.
You know, which is, I mean, yeah, this story really is comparable to The Dark Knight Returns. Like, it really shifts Batman as a character and the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You know, for sure.
And the funny thing is, the more he warps, it makes it even better when he rallies at the end of this, because you get this giant bat.
Yep.
And like these tiny little owls that he's just shirking from everywhere.
Yep.
And it just goes, enough! And it's just like, okay, that's it. That's Batman going, you know what, screw it. You guys have messed with my head enough.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. I'm just shutting out and I'm just beating ass. That's it. It's just like,
I think,
don't even know.
Yeah, I'll find that panel, but I think something like that too is also goes to
Oh
show.
yeah. Wait, can we pause on that real quick?
Yeah, I'll go back.
It's just the pain.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you feel it. Oh, ooh.
Yeah, and that's not a death blow.
No,
That's like, you are gonna die, but it's not instant. This is
that's meant to hurt.
Yeah, this is to make you suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
And now the great thing I love about this is to contrast something like I love Jim Lee. He's a great artist, but he has a bad habit of drawing the same Batman face.
Yes.
No matter what emotion he's feeling, it's always brooding Batman or hyper angry Batman. There's not a lot of variance in his Batman faces, because that's the way he views Batman, which is completely valid. But to see such a range of emotion come from Batman in this storyline was so refreshing.
Yeah.
This pain, this fear, this confusion, this anger, all of it. It was
Yeah, it's really, yeah, Capullo does a great job in emoting you know, the pain and the feelings that the characters are experiencing, especially this. You know, it's not like, I mean, you can even see it in the eye, as small as it is. You can see it in his eye, like you know, the terror. Like, you know, he's
Oh yeah.
As small as that little detail is, you really get that terror, and you get that fear, you know, coming out. You know, which is really, really cool.
I'm Batman. You can't do this to me. How did you do this to me?
Yeah, no one Batman's Batman.
Exactly. And then, you know,
funny thing is, I say that whenever my fiance sneaks away from me.
You know, so he throws him. He's getting his butt whooped. You know, Talon's like, "Hey, I've got you." I will say this. I will say,
little girl. Oh my god!
Right?
How him more?
Wow, creepy.
Loved it.
Truly creepy. You know, the thing that I find most about Batman, and this is where I was explaining earlier, right? Is that, you know, he doesn't talk about. I mean, I'm glad that he doesn't give up. You know, I will say that. You know, but you know, you can see in here where he sees Alan Wayne's face. You know, he sees him scared. He sees him begging. You know, he's calling out for someone to help, and it's Batman's own perseverance and resilience. But like I was alluding to, and what I was saying to earlier is, you know, he says, you know, he says enough. But at no point during that does he say, "Hey, if you defeat me, which I won't let you, but if you do, know that, you know, Gotham will fight back, and the people of Gotham will fight." And that's where I felt that, you know, it showed that difference of hope. You know what I mean? Where Bruce was very much like, "Hey, here's what we're going to do," and whatnot. Now, of course, Batman is not a character of hope. He's a character of resilience, and he totally comes back on this. You know, totally does. Let's see here. What else we got? So then he escapes by pretty much kicking Talon's butt.
Going savage.
Yep, he does. He really does go savage. And I'm just gonna go to the end, so we can wrap this up a bit. You know, he does the escape, and the Court of Owls is like, you know, we will You know,
Look at that panel. It's so beautiful.
yeah.
Fingers and the hands. Oh, oh.
You know, I really do like that. They say that Batman hasn't bested us. We still have other things in our arsenal.
Yeah.
And regardless of what he did to Talon, he did not damage us in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. I really, really like that.
This character was totally new to me, and I was like, "Who is this?"
Oh, Harper?
Yeah.
Never saw her before, so I was like, "All right, let's roll with it."
Yep. Yeah, Harper has she gets involved in other storylines later down.
I'm down with it. I like her.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about Nightfall. Who was that guy, the misshapen dude that was in the Batcave that was like fixing everything?
Oh, yeah. I forget his name, but
yeah. So it was like the new version of him. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, a gothic chick now. All right, I can roll with that.
yeah, she becomes a character called Bluebird, and it's a really awesome character.
Yep.
It was sad. It was sad to see that future writers didn't do much with her.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Now here's the exchange that I like. Here's the exchange between the beginning.
Oh yeah, completely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, you go from Bruce talking to Dick, and they're getting along, and there's no problem at the very beginning of the story, which was foreshadowing when they were all together. And now here comes Dick into the Batcave, and Bruce is completely ignoring him.
Yeah.
And not only ignoring him, but doubting him.
Yeah.
He is completely doubting him, as in, like, you are connected to this guy somehow. There is something that, either and you've not told me, or there's just something where I have my doubts. It's it's really, really good. This is pretty much it. This is a slow explosion.
Oh yeah, no, and they touch on this multiple times in future comic books.
Yeah,
this is not something that they just did once and dropped it out of Dick Grayson's history. It's a permanent part of his background now, and they've done a lot with it.
I look forward to reading that.
Yeah, I just love it. I really, really do. Like, if you want to see us, if you want to go on YouTube and watch, those slow motion explosions, these two pages is watching it in writing.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Now, like, especially Alex, you'll see this when you if you read the follow-up stories to this, that they go into this more with Dick Grayson and actually go into the history of his last name, Grayson, and it has such a beautiful answer for it. And my God, that backhand,
right?
I didn't like that at first. But yeah, I can roll with it.
Yeah, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, but we all know that's not the first hit that Dick is taken from Bruce.
No,
this is true.
No, it's not. No, it isn't. And I just love how it ends. Like how Bruce and Batman and Dick and Nightwing. I just love how it just ends.
Yep.
It just ends literally on a not quite a cliffhanger, but it ends with no resolution.
Yes, very unstable ground.
Yes, there's just no resolution. And Bruce, again, that's where his arrogance kind of shifts a little. It shifts to where it's like, well, I can't trust anybody because, I know better, or, I've been through this situation, this experience that I just can't have anybody close.
Oh, it's also a defense mechanism at that point too, because it's like at this point it's like, okay, things are getting serious, can't risk the family. So time to push the family away. Yep. This way I can handle this on my own and know that they're safe.
Yep, exactly. And then it just ends with all the Talons being released.
But
what I like is how they're all different.
Oh yeah.
If you look, like, they're all different outfits.
Different heights, different builds, different weapons.
Yep. Yes. Cosplayer's dream come true.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And then they're like, go forth and take the city.
Fly, my pretties, fly.
Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah. It's pretty Yeah. So for all you viewers that are watching this for the first time, we hope that in coming episodes we'll be able to talk about additional news. We'll be able to talk about a lot more going on in the Batman universe.
And actually talk to you guys.
And actually talk to you guys. Yes, we are going to look forward to having live videos every other week from the main statue show. With the next book we're going to read, hopefully it'll be more seasonal. We'll see. Just depends on how schedules align. The main takeaway that we would like to provide for you guys regarding the Court of Owls is that if you're looking to get into reading Batman, while this is not, and we all have our personal opinions, I don't think that this is a good start for anyone jumping new into this. I think that this should be a second read. You should have a read of almost any Batman story that involves his rogues gallery. And it could be The Long Halloween, it could be Hush, it could be any of those stories, so you get a sense of the difference between his previous villains and then how he deals with the Court of Owls. Jumping right into the Court of Owls, you might lose a bit of perspective of how Batman deals with his villains and how he manages them and how he confronts them. Alex Bat, what do you think?
I think at this point, everybody knows about Batman. They've either seen the movies, the TV shows, the cartoons, so they know how Batman acts and usually acts and reacts. So if they're just getting the comics, I think that'll be fine. If this sounds interesting to you, jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same thing because, the great thing about the storyline is because it comes off with the initiative that DC put in that was really meant to draw in new readers. So they go above and beyond to not reference previous stories. So unlike previous Batman stories where you would have footnotes saying, look at Batman so-and-so or look at Detective Comics so-and-so in order to understand the story, this one you can jump in. It's a fresh take on Batman. It's a fresh storyline with a fresh villain that you don't need to worry about the previous history of, because you get an introduction to Batman, you get an introduction to the current Robins and the Bat family. You even get a slight, quick introduction of the current Rogues Gallery in the first fight scene. It gives you just a visual breakdown of this Gotham, this Batman, everything like that, so you can jump into the story and just enjoy the story.
Exactly.
That I agree. I do agree. Me personally, and again, this is just coming from my perspective. I would recommend reading at least one story prior to this, so you get a familiarity of the difference of the villains.
Okay.
But I do agree with both Alex's that if you want more of a more updated, fresher take of Batman, this is a good start. It collects issues 1 through 7.
Yes.
This is the books that we read is the collected one, which is this version.
I have it on my iPad.
On the iPad, but there is the Black Noir version, and there also is the Omnibus version, I believe. Those two versions do collect the entire Court of Owls run. So you have the Court of Owls, Night of Owls, City of Owls. It collects the entire Owl saga for that. And
I believe issues 1 through 12.
1 through 12. Yep. 1 through 12. And in addition, when you do get the collected volumes, there is artwork from Greg that's unused or some of the used artwork. There's also some variant covers from other artists, and there's also some script pages from Snyder in there. So I would recommend getting the collected one, and then if you are an avid comic book collector and you want to read the story, get the collected one first, and then if you having the individual issues matter, I highly recommend getting the individual issues as well. I actually have a few myself that are signed by both Scott and Greg.
Nice.
And if you wanted to get the tie-ins, there are also the omnibuses collect the tie-ins as well, because after this point in the story arc, they do branch out into the rest of the Bat family's books: Nightwing, Batman and Robin, Batgirl, the Teen Titans, and so forth. So those books you won't see in the regular collected graphic novel, but you'll see it in the omnibus.
Yep. There you go. Now, what we would like to there are some other things that we would love to talk about, but we're trying to keep this show within reason. And moving forward, we hope to be able to review some more books for you, talk about upcoming news, things that are going on. But please understand that this is just our review. It is not the best review.
Not gospel.
It is not gospel at all. There are plenty of reviews out there that you should be able to take in and consider and look at and whatnot. But if you're a fan of Batman, we hope that you enjoyed this. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to seeing you guys and talking with you guys later on down the road. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Support your local comic book shops.
Yep.
Oh, yes, please.
Have a good one.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these 2 awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.